Hello everyone, welcome to Beamish Bookworms. Today I'm going to read the classic Frankenstein, which was written by the English author Mary Shelley in the year 1818. This story also happens to be my favorite. It's a story of a scientist, Victor Frankenstein, who tries to pump life into a creature he creates in his laboratory. Let's find out what happens when he decides to play God. Chapter 1: The Rescue. The small sailing ship was in danger of being crushed by the frozen Arctic ice around it. The young English captain, Robert Walton, was thinking if it was right to gamble with the lives of his courageous crew for his personal aspirations, making them discover oceans and lands never explored before. Though born in a wealthy family, Robert chose not to live a luxurious life. For the last 6 years, he was a sailor, bearing the natural difficulties of cold, thirst, hunger, and sleep deprivation. He was preparing himself mentally and physically for this perilous voyage. He wished to find a sea route near the North Pole from Europe to Asia. But Robert was doubtful if they would be able to survive in the harsh conditions. It was during the afternoon that the thick sheet of fog began to lift, revealing an unusual spectacle. Pointing to a place half-mile away, the crewman cried, "Captain, look there! It's a sledge with dogs! The driver, sir! He's gigantic! But how did he reach the middle of this frozen sea?" As Robert looked through his telescope, the mystery man vanished, leaving the crew shocked. The next day, Robert found his crew on the deck, apparently addressing someone below. He asked, "With whom are you talking?" One of them told that it was a sledge similar to the one they had seen the day before. But went ahead and saw a sledge, some dead dogs, and the driver on a block of ice coming towards the ship. The man was covered with snow, but was slowly paddling with a plank of wood. He seemed to be on the verge of death. Robert looked carefully and said to his crew, "The sledge and the man both are different from yesterday." A sailor asked the man to board the ship, the weather being unpredictable. But this didn't persuade the stranger. So Robert tried. "You will die if you won't let my men help you." The snow-covered man replied, "Thank you for your kindness, sir, but I need to know where this ship is headed." Robert was amazed at the question of a man just a step away from death. Yet he replied, "Towards North Pole." The stranger agreed, apparently reassured, and was taken on board. Ship's doctor checked the stranger and informed Robert of his bad health. Frozen legs, body too thin, bones showing through his skin. Robert immediately gave orders to his crew. "Cover him in blankets. Soup will do him good. Make space in my cabin. I will look after him." Since the stranger didn't say anything for 2 days, Robert thought he had gone mad. Perhaps there had been some tragic incident in the past. He had a dark, intense look in his eyes and kept grinding his teeth constantly. Yet his eyes sometimes glowed with gratitude towards the people on the ship. As the man got better, Robert questioned him, "Why and how did you come here?" The man with a sad expression replied, "I am looking for someone. A sledge like mine." "We saw that sledge a day before we found you," Robert answered. This caught the man's attention and he quickly sat up in bed. "You saw that demon? Which way did he go? I have to know." Robert advised him to first take care of himself and get well. The stranger sighed. "Perhaps you are right. I am grateful to you for rescuing me. There is a painful secret that I can't share with you right now, but soon I will." The man's health improved as the days passed. He would keep sitting on the deck, his eyes always searching for the sledge. One day, while listening to the English captain's ambitions and dreams about exploration, he broke into tears. I had a keen thirst for knowledge too, but I ended up an unhappy man. So don't repeat the mistakes I made, Captain. It has only brought unhappiness to my loved ones. My story is the perfect specimen of a search gone awry. A puzzled Robert asked, Please share your story. Maybe I can help you? The man wiped his tears and said, My destiny can't be changed. I will tell you about my tragic life. But before I die, I need to finish one last task. They went into their cabin and the man narrated his story. Chapter 2: The Beginning. My name is Victor Frankenstein and I belong to one of the most esteemed families in Geneva, Switzerland. I had a happy family with loving parents, 2 younger brothers, Ernest and William, and the orphan daughter of an Italian family, Elizabeth Lavenza. She was younger, so I called her my cousin. We grew up together with different approaches to life. She took pleasure in the beauty of nature, and I was taken with nature's incredible mysteries. I met my lifelong friend, Henry Clerval, during the school years. He was a lively and diligent boy who wrote stories about knights and then made me play the heroic parts with him. I wish I could relive those days and undo my mistakes. Wretched ambition led me down a grievous path. When I was 13, my increasing interest in science made way for a noble desire to help and cure people. At the age of 15, my scientific pursuit took a different turn when, during a violent storm, lightning struck an oak tree and reduced it to ashes. Astonished by the unbelievable power of electricity, I kept up my lust for learning, which continued when I was leaving home during my 17th year to study at the University of Ingolstadt. The first fateful incident occurred before I left home. Elizabeth, down with scarlet fever, was in danger. My mother looked after her consistently, and eventually she got the fever. As she was approaching her end, she asked Elizabeth, I know you will take care of the family, but I want a special promise. I want you and Victor to get married. We promised my dying mother that we would follow her wishes. I had almost cancelled my plans of going away from home, but my father persuaded me to go. I had to leave my family and my friend Henry behind to venture out into the world. We waved our goodbyes and I felt the heaviness in my heart as I parted from my dear ones. Chapter 3: A Dazzling Discovery. At the university, I desired to make my dreams come true by pushing science and its incredible power beyond its limit to sustain life and benefit all mankind. My favorite teacher, Professor Waldman, inspired me. You should read both modern and ancient scientists, as by joining these sources of knowledge, you will know the unknown about the earth, the heavens, and how the human body works. I interrupted him, saying, But I want to know more than that. I had finally found my objective. I wished to know how a human body came into being and not just how it worked. Professor Waldman was proud of my enthusiasm and wished me success in my life. He was not only my teacher, but also a friend. During the 2 years at the university, I worked hard to achieve what I wanted by attending lectures, reading papers, and interacting with some illustrious scientists. My next step was to set up a laboratory on the top floor of my apartment, where I worked and practiced for my personal research during the days and sometimes even at nights. One morning, I went to meet Professor Waldman, who congratulated me on my steady progress. I thanked him, saying, "It's your encouragement, sir, which led me to the right path. Right now, I'm focusing on the anatomy so that I can reveal how human life originates. For this, I must know how it ends and decomposes." Professor Waldman was delighted. "I knew it, Victor. I knew you would bring about a change in the world. You have it in you to be the perfect scientist. Away from everyone, even your family. It has been 2 years since you left your family. Don't you think it is time you go and visit them?" I replied calmly, "No, sir. My project and ambition are too important for me at present. I cannot afford to leave now." The professor was impressed with my dedication towards my work and didn't mention home any further. The real exploration began in the next months, during which I went to charnel houses where bodies were stored until they were buried. Wanting to know more, I even went to the cemeteries at night, digging up bodies to analyze how bodies decayed after weeks, months, and years. After months of continuous experimentation, something clicked in my mind. What if the dead could live again? And that was the turning point of my life. I questioned myself. Have scientists not thought about it before? Am I to uncover the truths of human life? Full of zeal, I worked industriously day and night and was successful in producing life in lifeless objects. I was overjoyed at my astonishing discovery. This made me even more hopeful that my dream would be fulfilled one day. Here, Robert Walton, who was listening intently to Victor, cut in. "Fantastic! But what was that secret? How could death be turned into life?" Victor, with a gloomy face, spoke. "Oh, the cursed secret. I can't tell you that. I am here, in this position, because of that terrible secret. I have destroyed my life. I cannot destroy yours." Chapter 4. Creating the Form. I did not know that this power would lead to destruction. But at that time, I was not thinking about the consequences. I was ecstatic with the power in my hands. It was not an ordinary feeling, and this power was more than I could handle. I had the original idea, and I knew, in theory, of the creation of life. My dilemma was how to go about it. I wanted to put life into something. But what? A form had to be created, animal or human, and I would need the apparatus for it: veins, arteries, bones, flesh, to assemble all these into a figure. I was so engrossed with the experiment that for days together I didn't eat or sleep properly. My mind and imagination were both engaged in the setting up of the form and then putting life into it. Then a thought struck my mind. What if I create a human being? Yes, that's it. And if I succeed in my endeavor, it will be written down in history. I will be called a great scientist. People will respect and thank me for bringing their dear ones back from the dead. To reconstruct the beautiful and complex figure of a human being, I had to keep in mind the minute yet vital parts of the body. Therefore, to fit all the parts appropriately, the setup had to be bigger than a normal human body, about 8 feet tall. I busied myself in gathering various body parts during the next few months. I did what was not to be done, and I went to places where I should not have gone. To the charnel houses, to the cemetery for dead bodies, to the slaughterhouses for animal parts. What followed was a period of continuous work for months and months. I locked myself away in my laboratory, ignoring what was happening in the outside world. The changing seasons meant nothing to me. Spring, winter, fall, summer, all passed. But I worked on like a maniac. I didn't give a thought for food, sleep, or my necessities. Many letters came from my family stating their worry about me, but nothing could break my concentration. Sometimes I loathed myself for running after something that took me away from my family. Yet I wanted to complete my work with perfection. This constant working under so much pressure led to my poor health. I was tormented, anxious, and restless. My eyes were watery, body feverish. I felt a peculiar heaviness in my brain. Convincing myself that it would lead to a great discovery, I went on with my project. How I regret it now. Chapter 5. The creature came to life. My work was completed by November. I can't forget what a dark, horrible night that was. It was raining heavily outside, and the lightning and the noise of the rain knocking on the windows added to the horror of what was to unfold. The memories of that wild night give me shivers. It was this night when I decided to bring my creature to life. As there was no electricity, I was working under a candle's light, which was running out. All my instruments were ready, and the moment had come. I gently touched the creature with my instrument, and it brought him to life. He was alive! I stood there, rooted to the spot, my eyes fixed on the creature. The creature slowly opened its inanimate yellow eyes. Then he took a very long breath, which made his chest swell abnormally. Suddenly, to my horror, his body started shaking with convulsions. There was an awakening. Was this the result of my dedication? Was this really my creation? I hated myself at that moment for producing something so terrible and so frightening to the human eye. All my dreams came to an end after I saw his withered, pale skin barely covering the flesh, lank hair on his monstrous visage, his grotesque form. I could not look at him and ran to my apartment, hoping that it was all a dream. I tried to sleep and forget what had happened. I kept tossing on my bed restlessly until I fell asleep. Though sleep came, it brought with it nightmares of death. I dreamt of Elizabeth and my mother. I woke up with a start, shivering all over. I still remember how the moonlight came through my window that night. I was quick to realize that someone was present in the room. It was the gigantic figure of the monster, lifting the curtains around my bed. It scared me out of my wits. He was standing and looking at me with an evil grin that showed his white teeth, wrinkled yellow skin, and dark lips. He opened his mouth and tried speaking, uttering senseless things. But as he lifted his hand to touch me, I escaped from there to save my life. I rushed downstairs and hid myself in the courtyard to spend the rest of the dreary night. Okay, we shall have to stop here. What do you think of the story so far? Victor, the protagonist, was a brilliant student, inquisitive, hardworking, and enthusiastic. However, I think his ambition just got the better of him. He didn't channelize his intellect in the right way. He could have done that for constructive purposes. But instead, he tried to play God, tried to do the inconceivable, bringing the dead back to life. What will happen next? Let's find out next time. Now for the list of the difficult words which we encountered while we were reading these 5 chapters. Quickly grab a pencil. Number 1, awry. Number 2, diligent. 3, grievous. 4, illustrious. 5, journal. 6, industriously. Number 7, endeavor. Number 8, inanimate. Number 9, convulsions. Number 10, withered. Number 11, grotesque. Number 12, lank. Number 13, dreary. Number 14, visage. Number 15, vile. Okay, that's all from today. from Beamish Bookworms. Till next time, happy reading. If you enjoyed listening to this story, please do like and subscribe to Beamish Bookworms. Please press the bell icon to get notified when a new story comes out. Meanwhile, happy reading, everyone!